10 tin games in 10 minutes. Can we do it? I can. I don't know about you. Tinhelm is a dungeon crawler for one player. A perilous solo micro quest. It is very gritty, it is extremely thematic, and is very fun. If you have played Ironhelm, Tinhelm is kind of like the little cousin. It would be extremely easy to learn, set up, and play, but even if you haven't played Ironhelm, the game's rules are very simply explained using the rule cards. Everything's extremely easy to reference, and the game is very simple to set up. Fans of Axbane's art will recognize the dungeons, and players will find the cubes and stat tracking systems easy and intuitive. Character building is unique, with every race being able to be any other class but the one on the opposite side of their card, and the encounters are unforgettable. Easily one of my favorite dungeon crawlers in tin form. Tinhelm, technically a separate game entirely, but builds off of Tinhelm as a decent expansion if you so wish it to, and you should. Tinhelm is exceedingly difficult without having a built character from Tinhelm. The storyline picks up right after Tinhelm ends, and again, we're looking at a very easy to learn, set up, and play game, particularly if you have played Iron or Tinhelm. Although setup and exploration are now a bit different, taking you outside of the dungeon and having you making strategic choices about where to put your cards to advance your player along the path. If you merge Tinhelm and Tinrealm, there is some redundancy, but there is also greater combinations of characters and classes. Another unforgettable experience from Grey Gnome Games. Literally, it's so easy to learn and play you can't forget. Gate and its expansion Gates. Test your nerves in this solo play deck building medieval horror game that will have you dying for more. The art will look familiar because this is the same creator as Tinhelm and Tinrealm, but this time you are building your deck to create a team of villagers that will help you enforce commands or take actions to attack, recruit, or rebuild in this tower defense game. Setup is once again easy and intuitive, and there are no dice rolls to randomize anything. It's all card draw. There is a hard mode, and the expansion adds even more mechanics and more cards for you to protect, such as the tavern and the mill. Unfortunately, new monsters such as the Flyclops, Lost Corpse, Doomskull, but new heroes like the Clay Golem, and villagers like the Brute, Vagabond, and Gypsy. Cursed by Goblin Hour Games is a one-player, 3 to 6 minute solitaire game. It doesn't have very many cards, but it is extremely clever in its execution, and is more of a push-your-luck game like Blackjack than any other genre of game. As you draw cards from your limited deck, your time on this earth wanes. Fight monsters that you come across using the weapon values on one edge of the card, and decide whether that's enough to defeat the monster and just take the damage at the cost of more cards, or risk going over and wasting a card. Helpful items can be looted from some monsters, increasing your chances of reaching your goal of 8 monsters. Capture their souls, undo the curse. One of my favorite tin games. Doom Pilgrim Pocket and its expansions, Doom Deeper Pocket. And I say expansions because there are 3 expansions in here: Futile Havens, Fatal Ends, and Pagan Echoes. This is a very narrative-driven solo adventure that is still high stakes. Choose the amount of cards that you want to play, which will determine your difficulty. Take the top 3 cards, choose 1 to discard, 1 to save for later, put it at the bottom of the deck, and 1 to play now. Read the text, apply any negative effects, or positive, if any, to your character, and repeat the process until you are dead, or until you have exhausted the deck of its cards. In which case, your pilgrimage is complete. With stunning art by Droned Artworks, you will be tasked to remember the vague imagery in order to make your decisions for your next playthrough, because you are going to die a lot. The expansions make this experience easier, harder, and easier and harder. Dark Tomb Crypts of Aurelian, the Ice Chasers, and Bloodthorn Island. One of the most dungeon crawly games in a tin format ever. A proper dungeon crawl experience with heroes, monsters, and tokens that move about on tiles. Each stage will have you flipping over randomized dungeon cards, and outsmarting enemies with the roll of a die and the choices that you make using the treasure that you find in the quests, sometimes necessary, or the abilities on the cards. Choose one, then you will mark it with a token. You cannot use that action in your next turn. You'll be able to use any of your other 3 actions, and then, again, you won't be able to repeat them. Monsters have predictable movement and attacks, allowing you to strategize before you move in, for hopefully dealing the killing blow. These games are not available on the Game Crafter. Dust Runner and its expansion, Dust Runners, a desolate chase across a wasteland, Mad Max style. Upgrade your sweet ride with modifications as you race across a track, trying not to get caught by the marauders. You'll encounter enemies like the Raiders, and draw cards from the Resolution deck, which will determine dice rolls, rewards, banes, and boons. There's character building too in the form of car building. I love the theme of this game, and it's easy to pick up and go after learning the short rule set. Dust Runners introduces settlements, allowing for even more car modification options and possible resolution deck combinations. Judgment of the Realm Lords is a quest-taking game, and is so packed full of content that I don't want to spill the contents out onto my table, so I'll just explain this to you instead. After generating a 6x6 randomized map area with a couple of rules and restrictions, setting up weapons, armor, and trinket shops, and building your character, you'll set off on a journey to slay monsters and get stronger. With its intuitive rock, paper, scissors style combat system, it's 18 different enemies and 6 bosses, each one with one of 6 enemy types, and its Dark Souls styles level up system. This is bound to be one of your favorite games. It is one of my favorite tin games. The Graveyard Shift by Fractured Pawn, a small and fast 18-card solitaire game, and one of the easiest games ever to learn. You will start with 5 drops of lantern oil and 3 health. Shuffle your cards, then try to get through the entire deck without dying. That's it. Every card that you flip over will have a monster whose hit points you need to beat with a roll of a single die. You may add lantern oil to increase the value of your die by 1. If you run out of oil, you can sacrifice a health to completely refill it. But that's really it. There's just random dice, very little decision making to be had. Although there are some boons throughout the deck, and you could do a little bit of card counting to try to strategize, this is going to be a lot of just randomization. Perhaps it needed more time in the oven, but an expansion would be appreciated. Mint Knight, a tin game that takes place on a hex grid, with a wide variety of characters, spells and abilities, and treasures. You too will be able to set up, and I actually don't know how to play this yet. I haven't played this game yet, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Spearmint Valley, a tall tin game with a ton of components. In fact, a separate baggie was delivered, and I had to punch a lot of the cards out of their larger card sheets to be able to get everything to fit into the tin, which, I mean, of course you would. This has got almost everything that Stardew Valley has, from fishing to farming to fighting slimes to mining to befriending a lot of villagers who will all move in. Time passes and you have got to complete all of your goals and to make friends before the end of the 3rd year. A cozy simulation game inspired by farming sims of the past. Crypt Crawler and Crypt Crawler Quest from Dustin Cox. A combat-heavy dungeon crawl experience awaits you with a myriad of powerful foes and quest setups. You will choose one of 4 heroes, a human, an elf, a dwarf, a gnome, and a wizard, a reptoid. Track your stats, gain loot, fight, explore, and survive. The expansion, Crypt Crawler Quest, requires that you merge everything together and adds new treasure and a new mechanic of repairing your weapons on anvils. Beware the new monsters in this expansion, but rejoice in the new heroes that you get to select. There's that dwarf. And there it is, my current complete collection of tin games in less than 10 minutes. Farewell for now, brave heroes.